Hello, everyone. Welcome. NTL Sports here, episode 141. We got a big jam-packed episode, y'all. AFC, NFC championship games. Trip to the Super Bowl is on the line this weekend. We will go over both games. Plus, we'll sprinkle in a little bit of some NBA and some college basketball. Mason, our Patriots are doing really, really well. Some NBA news that we got to go over. So, with all that being said, stay tuned. We're back. Let's jump into this. AFC, NFC Championship. They are this Sunday. Both games are this Sunday. Commanders, Eagles, third battle of the NFC East. We get the Bills, Chiefs, another rematch of back in 2020, and then they met each other last year in the divisional round. So, two great games that I've been looking forward to. So let's get into this, Lawrence. Let's start with the first game. The first game, I believe, is going to be the Eagles Commanders Sunday, 3 p.m. Fox. Philly, 6.5-point favorite. Who do you have in this one?
Their regular season stats and everything. But you still have to look at it because that's fundamentally what the team is based. Their baseline is what they did in regular season.
Mm-hmm.
And, offensively, Washington is a top 5 offense almost across the board, except for passing. And you look at the Eagles, they're pretty much top 10 in most categories. Some categories they fall off a little bit, other than rushing yards where they're top 2 in the entire league. So yards per game, they're 5th. Defensively, the Eagles are, they allow the least amount of yards per game, least amount of passing yards per game, 10th against the rush, which, if you're asking the real question, is Washington hasn't really looked too great this postseason running the ball. However, passing and Jaden Daniels runs have looked good. So that being said, I kind of want to bring in the regular season stats. The Washington Commanders are 30th against the rush. That's literally the Eagles' bread and butter.
Yeah.
But then you go back and you look at that game. What was it, week 16, 17? Right at the end of the season, where the Commanders were able to take out the Eagles. And you got to think to yourself, well, why did they take out the Eagles? Well, they took out the Eagles because they got Kenny Pickett in there, and they knew all they're going to do was run the ball. That's not going to happen this game. Well, we don't know that because Hurts' knee might be worse than what we think. But he finished the game, so I think his knee's pretty all right. Daniels, he's gone 46 for 66 in the postseason so far. That's pretty much a 70% completion for 567 yards. And he'll be going up against the technical, based on regular season, number 1 pass defensive team. And when I saw that, I was really kind of confused because I didn't think that was going to be true. Threw me for a loop a little bit. And then you look at it, well, I think Darius Slay gets away with a lot of penalties. Personally, I do. But I think it's more so, if we look at the Commanders, what has clicked this postseason? And by golly, it's not running the ball. That has not clicked. What has clicked is the wide receivers just somehow keep getting open. And it's not the same guy every game. I'm pretty sure the first game, it was Zacchaeus with a few catches out of nowhere. De'Ami Brown has been killing it both games. Ertz makes the clutch catch when you need him. Terry McLaurin having himself a postseason for the first time. And thoroughly enjoy, well, not first time, but a good postseason for the first time. Thoroughly enjoying it. Running backs, well, if we can't run the ball, we got those little dink routes and get the ball out. And honestly, I think the Commanders have a lot of tools to make this a difficult game for the Eagles. And I'm going to pick the Eagles, mainly just because I don't know if the Commanders have enough left to take them down. But fundamentally, I think the Commanders cover the spread. I think the Commanders keep it really close, and it doesn't shock me that the Commanders pull this out. And the reasons I believe that, everyone keeps talking highly of this Eagles defense and, oh, they're so good, they're so great. But then you look at some key pieces, they're really young. They're not as old as they once were on that side of the ball. They've lost some of their key main staples throughout throughout this regular season. And in some areas, they're playing with dry bones, some rookie guys or younger guys. And then I look across the other side, and you got a bunch of hungry guys who's been on bad teams, and the Commanders all brought them here. Same guys that we all made fun of them for bringing in, like, oh, this is the offseason you're having, this is horrible. An old aging Bobby Wagner. Well, this is the exact game why you bring in Bobby Wagner. Yep. And if there's one person that can contain a Saquon Barkley, it's an old man with nothing else to lose other than trying to get one more ring. An old man who wants to show that he ain't fully washed yet. Bobby Wagner probably has a few more games left in him. He's probably a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, do I think Saquon Barkley could be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Yeah, if he continued his career like he did. But if for some reason Saquon was like, my knees are banged up, I don't feel like doing this no more, I don't think he's first ballot just based on the small portion size we've gotten from him. There's been plenty of running backs who look that good. But there's been very few Bobby Wagners of this time. I mean, at one point in time, the only competition Bobby Wagner had, pound for pound at linebacker, was Luke Kuechly. One's retired, one's still going. So, I'm going. If there was between the two games, if there was a reckless, because you can't really take a reckless between the Bills and Chiefs. That literally could be a coin flip. But if you're feeling frisky, I would take Washington money line because passing wise, this postseason they have looked remarkable. They've figured out a way to get it all done. Our running game doesn't work right now. For whatever reason, their running game just can't get going. It doesn't matter because their running backs are just going to get it through the air. So,
yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna take the Eagles in this one. Like I said last week, the Commanders have, they've exceeded all expectations at this point. They're playing with house money. They got nothing to lose. This is definitely the situation that they didn't expect, but the situation that I think they wanted the most, right? So with no expectations, I like you said, Lawrence, I wouldn't be shocked if the Commanders won. If you're feeling frisky, money line is definitely an option here. But your luck has got to run out somewhere, and I think it stops here. Last time, like you said, Kenny Pickett came in for Jalen Hurts, played majority of that game, and couldn't get it done just basically because they stacked the box and they knew Kenny Pickett, he can't really throw the ball that well. They would have won the game if Saquon just catches or Devontae, if he catches that pass, they win that game, but it's not here or there. I think this time, if Hurts can play the game, and he doesn't even have to play 100%, Lawrence. If he can just be 75% Jalen Hurts, just enough to be able to push, and scramble a little bit, I think the Eagles got this one in the bag. I don't think Washington can stop Saquon, and I think those two guys on the outside, AJ and Devontae, I think, they're geared up to have a monster game. I think in their minds, they want to get back and get their revenge on the Chiefs because they thought that, hey, 2 years ago we got cheated out of a, some people say a sleazy holding call that set the Chiefs up for that game-winning field goal. So in their mind, they're thinking, hey, we got Big Red, we got these Chiefs that we're looking forward to, and that might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. If they're looking too far ahead in the future, they might get caught by Washington, but they just have that as a chip on their shoulder, then that's going to give them the extra motivation to win this one. So I'm going to go Eagles. I think Washington covers. Says it's going to be 39 degrees, so it's going to be a little bit warmer than it is right now. It's like in the teens over here in the DMV area. It's damn cold. So both teams are used to this weather. So honestly, I'm thinking the over in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if it is just a very close game and they don't really start scoring until the second half. So Yeah, I'm gonna go Eagles in this one. Commanders fans, don't hate me. I think you had a really good season, but your luck is gonna run out somewhere. It's gonna run out somewhere, and I think it's against the Eagles.
I think you just had, if you're a Commanders fan, like, you honestly just have to understand that the ride was really fun, and not everyone can make it. Like, the Eagles have been at this process of getting to the Super Bowl for, 5 years now? 4 or 5
Yeah,
years of good teams. Washington, this is their first year. Now, next year you make bigger, better runs, but everyone's looking at you. That's the difference.
yeah,
You got to do it while everyone's still paying attention to you.
yeah. Couldn't agree more. The other game, 6:30 rematch, Chiefs Bills, the 1 and 2 seed. This is the game that I'm looking forward to. This is the game that will solidify if there's a if there's one other QB I have any remote sense of belief in that can beat the Chiefs. It's Josh Allen, and this game will determine if I either still have that respect or I lose it completely. So, Lawrence, the floor is yours. Who do you have in this one?
Well, my rant is, if we go back to previous postseasons, there's only been one time that, physically, that I can remember that, like, for instance, that Josh Allen wasn't, like, young, we can't blame it on the fact that he was young. He's young and learning it, like most quarterbacks do. We all just don't just jump in there and become Mahomes. Mahomes is literally, besides Brady, in a class of his own in terms of just jumping in there and getting it done correctly. You could say that he has a coach that has a long tenure and knows how to get to that point, whereas Josh Allen has had Sean McDermott, who was a defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers before this, got to the Super Bowl with them, then jumped over, head coach, had to get some years to figure it out, get a good quarterback. But if we look back at some of those postseason games, only could I remember the Cincinnati game that Josh Allen just looked like trash. Like, he just looked plain out bad. Every other game, it's Josh Allen has done so much. Yeah, he made 1 or 2 mistakes here and there, but I mean, as a guy, like, you can't completely fault everything on him. Like, sometimes defense, you got to go make a play. Last year, it's what was the last year? The field goal.
The kicker, yeah.
You couldn't make that short ass field goal to just solidify Josh Allen. And then what was the year before that? Well, maybe 2 years before that. It was 13 seconds. Like, Josh Allen got scored on, and you gave him 56 seconds. He said, "That's enough time." Goes down there, gets you a score with 13 seconds, and he tells his defense, "Oh, yeah, I did that. We're awesome. We're moving on." 13 seconds is all you need to just call it a day, and you can't close it out. Now, can we blame Josh Allen for that? Not really. He puts you in a winning position with 13 seconds left. That is completely on your defense. You can't blame Josh Allen. And did you go back, like, even if Josh Allen loses this game, if Josh Allen looks good in this game and still loses, with the hardships we know he's going to face, we can just know it. The refs are going to be out to get him. It's more so going to be about what can the Bills overcome, Josh Allen included, because the refs are going to come after him. Josh Allen probably doesn't get any roughing the passer calls in this game. There's probably going to be a play where Josh Allen gets suplexed, and they're not going to call it. There's going to be a play in this game, and I'll call out the player that I have in mind that's going to do it. It's going to be Matt Milano hitting Patrick Mahomes going out of bounds, and he probably gets a flag for it because Patrick Mahomes does that tomfoolery right there. This game is on CBS. Who's going to be the color commentator for it? Tony Romo. What does Tony Romo do? He's Tony Homo for Patrick Mahomes. He's gonna suck it up. He's gonna make sure it happens. He's gonna be talking in the booth like, that should be a flag, that should be a flag. Even though Tony Romo wouldn't have gotten that flag back in his day. And we're not gonna get the awesome Troy Aikman to go, "Oh, come on," live on air watching this game because he's calling some bullshit on it. Now, if we're gonna measure it up, we're gonna go best player for best player going into this. Patrick Mahomes has looked bad. Okay, sorry. Patrick Mahomes has looked average. He got
Average.
flat out bailed by the Texans. Like, flat out bailed. Texans outplayed them, outproduced them, and still lost. Now, you can say the same thing for the Bills, but they looked comfortable in that Ravens game for the majority of the time. The defense was making certain plays. Lamar Jackson was doing Lamar Jackson postseason things, not Lamar Jackson regular season things.
Yep.
Yeah, we can be mad at Mark Andrews, but he still turned the ball over 2 times before that, so that's not on Mark Andrews. Getting back to this game, though, it's strictly how much the Bills can overcome, because you know they're going to get screwed over. They're second in points per game. They love cold weather. The cold weather's not going to affect them, and the weather's not even that cold. They can rush the ball. If we look at their postseason stats, Josh Allen's throw for 399 yards. We'll just call that an even 400 yards. He's thrown for 400 yards in 2 games. One game, he didn't have to play the second half, or he didn't have to try the second half because they were already destroying the Broncos. He's 36 for 48, which is 75% completion. His guys are catching the ball. And then if you look at on another page, he's rushed for 66 yards. Johnson's rushed for 75 yards. James Cook has rushed for 187 yards. These are big numbers in the rushing game. And if we go over to the Chiefs and we look at their regular season, they were 8th against the rush and 18 against the pass. So if I am the Bills, and I've got to think to myself, how do I get this win? Now, with the first game in the regular season, it was a lot of Josh Allen running, a lot of James Cook running. But if we remember the postseason game last year, in which the Bills pretty much showed you how to beat the Chiefs, and the 49ers just disregarded it, even though they had probably the best guy for it, which is Christian McCaffrey. And then people were trying to shit on the Bills for losing that game because all they did was kept throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage and then trying to get some yak yards. But I think that's almost exactly what you have to do. You have to do what you did last year to pretty much win this game, but your kicker can't catch. That's it. The kicker just can't catch. You got Curtis Samuel, you got Shakir, you got Johnson, who that man is so elusive as a running back. We just need to be dunking and dinking. We need to be setting up for play action plays where we think it's going to run up the middle, get the guys to bottle up the middle, dink it out to the right, dink it out to the left, do whatever you got to do real quick. And we got to challenge those cornerbacks for the Chiefs, because honestly, I think that's their weak point is the corners. I know they like to highlight them, but that's just because they're gassing them, to be honest. And then once that starts breaking down like that, you bring the tight ends in. Tight ends have 58 and 35 yards between the 2 games. And you can use Matt Collins as a tight end if you really wanted to. That man's a tank. So weapon-wise, I think the Bills have everything they need. And if we're going best wide receiver one side versus the other side, I got Shakir versus Travis Kelce. If it was any other point in time or any other point ever, I would take Kelce. At this exact point, I think I'd rather have Shakir over Kelce. Now, there also is that thing where Kelce always finds a way to get open. I feel like the Bills are just going to do anything to keep Kelce from getting open, and they're strictly going to make Worthy and Hopkins beat them. Because I don't think they have to worry about Pacheco. Because Hunt and Pacheco have not looked all that frisky in the postseason. And if the Texans can shut it down, I think the Bills can also shut it down. And then if we're going to go gusto guys, guys that got to get the job done, Bills, they have Von Miller. That man knows how to get it done. He did it against one of the best in Cam Newton in the Super Bowl. This is his chance to get back to a Super Bowl. This is his chance. This is basically his retirement run right here. If they win it all, he's retiring. That's almost dead happening.
Yeah, I agree. This game honestly is a coin flip. I think the Zebras will be out in full force. Now there's been this whole debate over the last week of the Chiefs getting all the favorable calls against other teams and other teams don't. It's obvious that they do. And Mahomes came out today and says he doesn't think he gets preferential treatment. Well, that's a bunch of baloney, bro. You got roughing the passer call when the guy barely hit you. Then you got another roughing the passer call while you were dilly-dallying. Oh, am I going out of bounds? Oh, I'm going back in bounds. Oh, I might go back out, but I'm going to cut back in. And then two defenders hit each other, don't even hit him. Another roughing the passer call. And we can go on and on. We can go back to the holding call 2 years ago against the Eagles. We can go back to this, game 2 or game 3 against Cincinnati. The defensive pass interference when our guy literally got there at the same time. He has every right to the ball as whoever. I think it was. I forgot who was going up for the ball, but they have the same right to go.
Britt.
Yeah, the same right to go for the ball as the receiver does. We can go back to 3 years ago in the AFC Championship game with that roughing the passer call. That got them that field goal instead of us going back to back-to-back championship in a Super Bowl. So, hey, there's a lot of examples. So we already know Zebra's going to be in full force. So if this game is close and Mahomes has the ball last, you already know what's going to happen. So
100%. The
best bet, honestly, is the Bills have to replicate what they did this regular season and just blow them out. The likelihood of that happening, though, I think is very, very small, maybe a third of a chance, right? I don't think the Chiefs are just too good, especially in postseason, to get blown out in a game of this magnitude. But if you can get them in, let's say Lawrence, they get them in in a 1-score game, but it's like 8, and they have to go down, get a touchdown, then convert a 2-point conversion, then I think they have a chance. But honestly, it's a coin flip. I want the Bills to win. I don't want the Chiefs to go back to Super Bowl because honestly, I don't think any of those teams over there can get it done. I think this is the last stand. Like I said, Josh Allen, I think he's the last guy that has all the skills and the guts to get this done. He's shown he can get it done in the past. He's been let down by his defense 1 year, and then the other year his kicker let him down. So he's going to put the cape on one more time. It's going to be in his hands. He can't leave it up to his defense. He can't leave it up to his kicker. I think Josh Allen has to win this game for the Bills because you've seen other times that he's been let down. So I'm gonna go Bills, but this gonna be a really good game. It's gonna be really close, I believe. So I mean, in terms of that, I mean, whoever you want to win is who you go with betting wise. So everything's pretty much a coin toss at this point. And Josh Allen played well against the Ravens. I think he can just keep it up, play mistake free. I like how offensively they called that game, Lawrence, last week against the Ravens. Hey, we're just gonna ground and pound. Yeah, we know the Ravens are top 5 in run defense, but they can't stop the threat of 2 guys that can get yardage. You can't stop Josh, and you can't stop Cook. You have to pick your poison. Do you want Josh running the ball? Do you want James Cook running the ball? I think they should do similar concepts this upcoming Sunday against the Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs got Chris Jones. Yeah, they typically are good against the run, but you can't stop both guys. And like you said, and if you do manage to somewhat limit Josh and James Cook, let's just run these short screen routes, these quick hot routes to get the guys some run after catch, some yards after the catch. That's just basically an extension of the run itself. So if they follow that game plan, Josh Allen don't make mistakes. They force Mahomes to make mistakes. The Bills can definitely get this done. But I think it's a lot of ifs.
I also agree. Bills money line, Bills to win. My key strat, if I'm the Bills in this game, is every drive that is short from the Chiefs should be followed up by a slow, methodical drive. Just pretty much just run, like you did against the Ravens. Drain the clock, keep Mahomes off the field, keep the refs out of the game, and then as soon as the Chiefs score, your goal should be to go to 2-minute offense, just straight up, just trying to try to take back every bit of momentum. And honestly, I think that's the way to beat the Chiefs. You have to keep every time the momentum has to be on your side. Every time they go down to score, you have to go back and quick 2-minute offense, throw them off guard, run down the field, get down the field really fast, and if it fizzles out, you get a field goal. So you just limited what they did. So you're up 7-7, or you're up 7-0. They score. They're 7-7. You quickly try to get down the field and make it 10-7. You constantly have to keep putting them behind. The problem is the Chiefs keep winning close games because they're getting bailed. We got to keep the distance from them getting the bailout. Honestly, you probably want Mahomes with the ball with 4 minutes left. That's who you want with the ball with 4 minutes left, because I want Josh Allen to have the ball with a minute left.
Yeah, that's what I said. It has to be a situation where the Bills are up one score. It can't be a field goal situation, because if it's a field goal, the Chiefs are going to milk that clock. With 3 to 4 minutes left, they're just going to milk it and get that field goal and win, or at least tie it up to go to overtime. That's why it needs to be a touchdown or 8 points, because if it's a touchdown, then they're going to they have to try to get that touchdown. They can't just chew up the clock and this and that. They got to be, because that's probably the final drive, right? So they have to be methodical. They have to actually play to tie at that point. Now, like I said, if it's a field goal or less, if it's 1 point, 2 point, 3 points, best believe they're going to chew that clock out. So the Bills have to believe in situational football.
So if you're the Bills, right, and you're up, you go up 6-0, or sorry, you're up 6 points, or sorry, you're tied, you score a touchdown with 5 minutes left. Do you go for 2 to make it an 8-point game, to force their hand to have to get that extra point, and then 2, if they are to miss it, or sorry, if they are to get it, and you are to fail at your 2 point, and they just kick their field goal, you're only down by 1. You still make them take all that time and methodically get down the field, but that'll leave you about 1 minute to get down the field. And if you're Josh Allen, I kind of believe my kicker can't fail me twice.
Yeah, it depends how much time is on the clock. If it's early fourth quarter, like
let's say late fourth quarter. We're talking late fourth quarter.
Late fourth quarter with like 4 to 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably go for 2 just to put the pressure on them. Like you said, if you miss it, oh well, you're probably getting the ball back because they know they did a touchdown, so they can't just half-ass it. They can't just fuck around and waste time. They have to at least get in a decent position to score, right? So you're gonna have some time left now. Josh Allen in the 2-minute drill, I believe in him. That kicker though, I seen it last year, Lawrence. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Anything can happen. I didn't think they were going to lose last year, and they did, so I don't know. You would think you would feel okay with that situation, but we seen it last year. So, like you said, maybe he shouldn't fail you twice, but then again, we've seen stranger things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at the Bengals game against the Broncos. Cade York missed the field goal to win the game. They go to overtime. Then he misses the field goal in overtime again. And then Joe has to go score in overtime for them to win that. So we've seen it before. Different team, but we've seen it before. So that's a tough call right there. So yeah, we both got the Bills in this one. Sunday, 6 o'clock. This should be the game of the week. And then the Super Bowl is February 9th. So there will be a week in between after this. So it's going to be a little while to the Super Bowl, but we all can wait. Wanted to sprinkle in some NBA news. Jimmy got suspended again. He missed a team plane. They go on a 2-game road trip. I believe they play in Milwaukee tomorrow night. So he suspended 2 games. Coincidentally, the Phoenix Suns, I don't know if you saw this, Lawrence, The Suns added 3 picks yesterday with a trade with the Jazz. They basically traded their 2031 pick, which, because they're in the second apron, I believe that pick would have been frozen anyway if they would have continued the season over the second apron. So they had to get rid of it no matter what. So they just said, hey, take off 31 pick. We won't be able to use it after this year anyway. And then we want 3 picks in return. Now, the 3 picks are the least favorable, I think, of like the Cleveland, here it is. Cleveland, Timberwolves, or the Jazz. So basically, it's going to be Cleveland's pick the next couple of years, because the Cleveland's going to be their core is good enough to be, pick 28, 29, 30 the next couple of years. So, so they got some ammo for the trade, Lawrence. I think the trade happens by the end of this 2-game trip. Some people were saying, like, why are you playing Jimmy Butler if you're ramping up trade talks and there's frameworks of a deal in place? They just need to find this, the third, fourth, 15. So I think that's all we're waiting for is other teams to jump in on this. I think this is going to be like a 5-team trade. But yeah, I think this trade gets done probably this weekend. What are your thoughts about, Jimmy's latest suspension and his Suns trade that's going to set up this big trade in the next week or so?
Well, I think it's big for the Suns to get him in there while they can, and just in all fairness and honestness, to stop dilly-dallying about it and just get it done. Because I kind of think it's more crucial to get him in earlier than later.
Yeah.
Reasons being, I think he's going to be a great asset to him. I think I don't want to say it's kind of obvious who they're getting rid of, but I think it's going to be Beal. I think we've already discussed that before. So, in fairness, if it is Beal, I think the Heat might suffer a tad, but I still think they'd probably sneak their way in the East just because of how the East is. But if you're the Suns, it makes a lot of sense because there are guys that can ball handle on that team. But in reality, they just need. I don't want to compare him to a Draymond, but that's kind of what they need. They need a guy that can rough some people up. They don't have like any sort of enforcer on their team. There is zero enforcement. So guys will beat on you, beat you up. They don't have any big tough guys. Most of them are string beans. Even the good players like Kevin Durant, Nurkic, they're still string bean. They're not big. And honestly, he'll open up a lot more. And I think the bigger thing is the difference in the defense you'll have from getting rid of Beal and adding Jimmy. And maybe a clutchness factor too. I mean, we're talking about a guy that was playing in Washington where there wasn't a lot of need to be clutch. And we saw those postseasons where Washington made it. They never really made it out of the first round. So Jimmy has proven year after year that once you get me to the postseason, that's all I need.
Yeah. I think Jimmy would be good for the Suns. I think he fits in well, like you said, that Draymond role, but he's going to obviously be able to score more, play defense, facilitate, be an enforcer, all those things. I think it's a good fit for the Suns. I don't know how much better the Suns are. I think the Suns are still, roster construction-wise, I think they're still flawed. So it's going to take a lot more than Jimmy for them to make a run in the West. The West is good. Let's just say that. There's a lot of good teams, a lot of heavy hitters, Grizzlies, Nuggets, OKC, even the Rockets are all better teams than the Suns currently as constructed. So, but Miami, if they're able to get 2 first-round picks out of this, which I kind of expect, they're going to get at least 1. If they can swindle 2 or 2 of these 3 picks from the Suns, I think that's a good, in my opinion. And then get some players that have been thrown around: Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, Bruce Brown, maybe. I know the Wizards are looking to get in on this as well. Maybe we get Kyle Kuzma. His contract is really, really appealing. So maybe we can get Kyle Kuzma. I would like that as well. He'll slide right into Heat culture. Kyle, he plays defense now when he wants to. He can stretch the floor. He can rebound. That's exactly what the Heat need right now. So we can get a Kyle Kuzma, a Bobby Portis. I kind of like that. And I mean, we're not good enough to beat the Cavs with any of those players, but I think we'll be a top 4 team if we get some type of good return plus picks to set us up for next year. And K Ware, he's looked good. He had like 20 and 16 last night. That kid is good. It took Spo halfway through the season to finally start this kid. You hate to see it. Ware is looking really good. And last but not least, our Mason basketball team looks really, really good, y'all. Good win against JW on Saturday. We were there. Double OT game. Very, very impressive win. And then beat the brakes off of St. Bonnie's. I think it was yesterday, right?
Yesterday, yeah.
ESPN has Mason currently on the outside looking in their March Madness kind of lookout about 2 months away. So I think there's a lot of ball left to play. Hopefully we will be on a bubble team. But I think the A10 gets more than one team this year. Hopefully we're that one extra team. Lawrence, what are your thoughts on Mason the past couple games?
Well, I think Mason has looked really good. I think the one thing they need to do definite is he needs to have those guys shooting free throws. That's a definite, especially the big men. They need to practice their free throws. I think any game that Maddox doesn't try to do too much in, we're pretty much golden to have a great game.
Yeah.
I think the overshadowment of our team though is very apparent because I have the ranking pulled up and they have us sitting at 75th in the nation, ranked 75. We beat Dayton. I get Dayton has played some teams, technically better than us. But we're 1-2 in quad 1 wins. We're 1-1 in quad 2 wins. Oh, that's pretty decent for an A10 team. We don't get to play quad 1 and quad 2 teams like every other day. Dayton is 2-3 in quad 1 and then 1-2 in quad 2. So they're not much better. They have one more quad win with one more loss. We've beaten Dayton. We did it at Dayton.
Yeah.
There's no reason Dayton should be ranked 68th ahead of us. It just doesn't make any sense. Next, we talk about, and they've been saying this, VCU has one more big game ahead of them, and that's Dayton. VCU has to play us. It's not like we don't have to play VCU. And the fact that they're not counting us as a big game is, it just shows to the concernment that there should be. Because they got VCU ranked 47th in the nation, and then we go look over at their quad 1 wins. They have 0. They've only played one team in the quad 1. They haven't played anybody. They purposely avoided playing anybody tough. Like, just straight up. They could have played people. They just chose not to. And you can say, like, oh, that's just because of the A10. Memphis is in the American. They're 5-2 in quad 1. Memphis has played good teams. You can say, oh, that's because it's Memphis. Utah State is in the Mountain West. They're 3-0 in the quad 1. That's the Mountain West. The biggest school in that conference is Oregon State. And they're not that great in terms of big size, in terms of population. There's better schools for college basketball, but we're just highlighting those. And if you want to talk about it bigger, like UC Irvine, they're in the Big West. Now we're stretching, we're pulling at needles here. Big West is much lower than the A10. UC Irvine is 1-1 in quad 1 and 3-0 in quad 2. They play good teams. VCU just straight up hasn't played anybody good, and they're just going to walk around as if they're some hot shot. We're technically the leader in the A10. We played Duke. We played Marquette. VCU did not. They've just been slipping by. And I've kind of compiled a list of certain teams. Maybe you should want to bet on. Be looking at it a little stronger. Keep an eye on them for if they make it to the postseason. There's a technical possible run they could make. And teams I included on here when I wrote it was GMU. I think that we have a good shot of making noise if we can get that far. If it's another year where the A10 only gets one team and we don't win the conference tournament, hopefully they say we'll take a regular season winner. Hopefully A10 can get 2. Memphis, like I just said before, they're 5-2 in quad 1 wins. And they're 5-1 in quad 2 wins. Memphis is scary. But there is one problem with Memphis, and that is they do slip up, and they just have duds games. They're just known. Watching them this season, they're just great at having a dud game out of nowhere. I think it was recently they lost to, I think it was Cincy. I think bad loss. And then getting into smaller schools that maybe could try to feast on is Purdue Fort Wayne. I'm high on Purdue Fort Wayne. If you look at their national ranking, they're 97th in the country. I wouldn't have thought some team named Purdue Fort Wayne was 97th in the country. But if you think about it, it's just the guys who want to play for Purdue. They're just playing at Fort Wayne. They're just, getting their foot in the door. I got to go to it's not community college, but I got to go to community college first, sort of thing, deal for them. Middle Tennessee, they're 105 in the nation right now. I think I said it on a podcast before, but I like Middle Tennessee to make some noise. I think they're easily going to take over their conference. And then moving forward, Arizona State. I know they're not in Conference USA like Middle Tennessee, but Arizona State is in the Big 12. They have a good coach. They're constantly making upsets happen. They're good at killing spreads as dogs. And then lastly, I'm going to put in here Drake. They have Drake listed here as 65th in the country. So they're almost on the same level as Dayton. But Drake from the, Missouri Valley Conference, MVC, is 2-1 in quad 1 wins and 1-1 in quad 2 wins. So you're saying that this team that's 14-2 with 2 quad 1 wins in the Missouri Valley Conference isn't as good as VCU, who has 0 quad 1 wins, only played 1 quad 1 game, and then you go back and look at it, it was a game they got stomped on. It's like one of those things, just give me a break. Half the stuff is name value. It's just all about the name. I mean, you look at 57th in the country right now is Arkansas. Why are they 57th in the country right now? Because Calipari is their coach. They're 1-7 in quad 1 wins. I know the SEC is stacked, but doesn't matter. They're just getting pummeled every game, and you're rewarding a team to get pummeled. That's what you're doing. You're saying that, okay, just because you got pummeled, it doesn't matter. Give me a break.
Yeah, that's college basketball for you. I think Mason has a chance. Hopefully, we keep the momentum going. We were talking about it off camera, but yeah, Mason honestly should be about 17-2. Shouldn't have lost against Central Michigan and should beat Rhode Island at the very least. There's another team we had a good chance of beating, but kind of slipped away. So 17-2.
I think early season woes from this team is what has put them in their position. But if we go based on how they've looked currently, other than a fluke loss to Rhode Island, I think they've been outstanding.
Yeah,
because they were up against Rhode Island.
Double digits too. Yeah, so keep up the good work, guys. They're playing really well. Love to see it. Anything else, Lawrence, before we head on out?
That's it for me.
That's all I got as well. So with that being said, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening on Spotify, all that good stuff. NTL Sports episode 141. We're going to head on out. Enjoy NFC and AFC championship games, and we will see you next week. Peace.